The night the signal arrived, no one noticed at first. It was not loud or dramatic. It slipped into the background noise of space, a thin pattern of pulses that repeated every few seconds. Automated systems flagged it as unusual, then ignored it. Only later did a junior technician decide to look closer, more out of boredom than concern. That small choice changed everything. The signal was found in a research center that monitored deep space communications. The building was quiet, filled with soft lights and screens that never slept. John Carter was on duty when the alert finally reached human eyes. He was not a hero or a soldier. He was a systems analyst who liked order, clear rules, and problems that could be solved with enough time. When he leaned closer to the screen, he felt his stomach tighten. The pattern was not random. It was structured. John ran the data again. The pulses were precise, repeating in a way that suggested intention. He called over Lisa Brown, who worked in linguistic analysis. Lisa had spent years studying how humans formed language, how meaning could grow from simple sounds. She frowned as she looked at the display. "This isn't natural," she said quietly. "It's too clean, too careful." By morning, the center was buzzing with activity. Senior researchers arrived, followed by government officials. The signal was confirmed by other stations around the world. It was real. It was not from Earth. Humanity was no longer alone. News spread fast, faster than any plan could contain it. Within hours, every major government knew. Within a day, the public knew too. Fear, excitement, and disbelief mixed together. Some people prayed, some people panicked, others celebrated. Old arguments rose again, louder than before. Who would speak for Earth? Who had the right to answer? Meetings were called in secure rooms across the planet. Leaders argued, accused, and threatened. History weighed heavily on every voice. Humanity had never been united for long. Wars and rivalries were part of its story. Many believed first contact would only make those divisions worse. John watched these debates through secure feeds, feeling uneasy. He understood systems, and the human system was unstable under pressure. Lisa felt the same. She worried less about politics and more about meaning. The first response would define how the aliens understood humanity. One careless phrase could turn curiosity into fear. As hours turned into days, something unexpected happened. The pressure did not break humanity apart. Instead, it forced cooperation. No single nation could control the situation. The signal did not belong to one border or culture. It belonged to everyone. A temporary global council was formed. It was not perfect and it was not calm, but it existed. Scientists, diplomats, and communication experts were brought together. John and Lisa were asked to join, not because they were powerful, but because they understood the signal best. The council met in a virtual chamber, faces from every continent filling the screen. Voices overlapped at first, filled with fear and pride. Slowly, rules were set, one speaker at a time, one goal: survival, understanding, and dignity. Lisa spoke about language. She explained that greetings were not universal. What sounded polite to humans might sound weak or threatening to another species. She warned against assuming shared values. John spoke about systems. He showed how the signal structure suggested patience and observation. The aliens had not demanded an answer. They had waited. This changed the discussion. If the aliens were watching, then humanity was already being judged, not by weapons or technology, but by behavior. Someone suggested a simple greeting. Another suggested a warning to stay away. Military voices pushed for strength. Others argued for silence. Then a quiet idea entered the room. It did not come from a president or a general. It came from a cultural historian named Peter Lane. He asked a simple question. What if our first words are not about them at all? The room fell silent. Peter explained that every human conflict had started with division, us versus them, nation versus nation, ideology versus ideology. If aliens existed, they would expect the same pattern: fear, competition, dominance. What if, he said, we surprise them? Lisa felt a spark of understanding. John felt it too. The idea was risky, but it was honest. Instead of saying hello, humanity could say who it was, not as nations, not as factions, but as one species that had learned painfully that division led to destruction. Debate followed, intense and emotional. Some feared it would make humanity look weak. Others feared it would be a lie. Unity was not perfect on Earth. It never had been. Lisa spoke again. She reminded them that language was not about perfection. It was about intention. Humanity did not need to claim it was flawless. It only needed to state what it chose to be. Slowly, the idea took shape. The first message would be a declaration, not of power, not of ownership, but of unity. Work began immediately. Teams from different cultures contributed words, concepts, and warnings. The message had to be simple, clear, and hard to misunderstand. It avoided idioms, jokes, and emotional extremes. John helped design the structure. The message started with mathematics, then physics, then biology. It showed humanity as a single species sharing one planet. Only after that did the words begin. Lisa led the language team. They stripped sentences down to their core meaning. No threats, no demands, no apologies, just facts and choice. Meanwhile, construction began on a contact platform in orbit. It was not a warship. It carried no weapons. Its purpose was to broadcast and receive, nothing more. The crew was chosen carefully. Men and women like Daniel Ross, Amy White, Kevin Miller, and Laura King. Not famous names, but steady people known for cooperation. The public watched closely. Protests and celebrations filled the streets. Some feared betrayal, some feared invasion, many simply waited. As launch day approached, John barely slept. He reviewed the message again and again, looking for flaws. Lisa read it aloud, listening for hidden meanings. On the final night, the council voted. The decision was not unanimous, but it was strong enough. Humanity would speak, not as separate voices, but as one. The platform reached its position above Earth, silent against the stars. Inside, the crew prepared. John and Lisa watched from the control center, hands clenched, hearts racing. When the signal was sent, it carried no greeting. It carried a choice. Humanity declared that it stood together, aware of its past, cautious of its future, and willing to meet the unknown as a united species. And somewhere beyond the darkness, something listened. The message traveled faster than anything humanity had ever built before. It was not magic, but it felt like it. Scientists called it a focused burst of space-time compression, but to most people it was simply hope launched into the dark. Once it was sent, there was nothing more to do but wait. Waiting was harder than fear. Days passed with no reply. The world held its breath. Markets shook, then settled. Borders stayed quiet. For the first time in a long while, nations hesitated before acting alone. Everyone was listening. John Carter stayed at the control center, sleeping on a small couch near his workstation. He replayed the outgoing message again and again, checking timing, clarity, and structure. It was done. It could not be changed. Lisa Brown spent her time answering questions from the council, explaining again why certain words were chosen and others removed. She reminded them that silence did not mean rejection. On the sixth day, the signal came back. It was stronger than the first one, clear and sharp. Alarms sounded across monitoring stations worldwide. Within minutes, confirmation arrived from every major array. The reply was real. This time, the pattern was different. It was longer, more complex. John felt his pulse race as he began breaking it down. Lisa leaned close, eyes wide. The structure suggested analysis. The aliens had studied the human message in detail. The council gathered again, faster than before. Fear returned, but it was mixed with wonder. The reply did not contain threats. It did not contain commands. It began, like the human message, with shared constants of math and physics. Then came something new. The aliens acknowledged the declaration. They did not respond to humanity as a collection of states. They responded to it as a single entity. The words, once translated, carried a tone of surprise and caution. Lisa worked carefully with the translation team. The alien language was built on layered meaning, where a single concept could hold multiple ideas at once. Still, the core message was clear. The aliens were part of a wider community, a council of many species. Rules existed for first contact. Those rules assumed competition, control, and slow integration. Humanity did not fit. The Declaration of Unity disrupted their expectations. There was no clear leader to pressure, no rival faction to exploit. The aliens asked a direct question. Was this unity stable, or was it a temporary performance? The question cut deep. John understood systems well enough to know the danger. Unstable unity could collapse under stress. Lisa understood people well enough to know the answer was not simple. The council argued again. Some wanted to reassure the aliens with confidence. Others wanted to admit uncertainty. Fear pushed some towards strong language promises that could not be guaranteed. Lisa stood firm. She argued that honesty was the only path forward. If humanity lied now, it would be exposed later. Trust, once broken, could never be rebuilt. John supported her. He showed models of social behavior under external pressure. Humanity, he argued, had a rare chance. A shared unknown had created shared purpose. It might not last forever, but it was real now. The response was written carefully. Humanity admitted its flaws, it admitted past divisions and violence, but it stated a clear choice. Unity was not claimed as a fact. It was claimed as a direction. When the reply was sent, the world listened again. This time, the answer came faster. The aliens accepted the explanation. They shared fragments of their own history. Long ago, their civilizations had followed different paths. Some had unified early, others had conquered their neighbors. Most had failed before finding balance. What surprised the council most was what came next. The aliens explained galactic law. It was not written for peace. It was written for control. First contact protocols assumed that new species were unstable and dangerous. Contact was limited. Trade was delayed. Military observation was constant. Humanity's declaration challenged that logic. Unity, even imperfect unity, reduced unpredictability. A species that spoke with one voice was easier to understand than many shouting at once. This sparked tension within the Galactic Council itself. Some members feared change. Others saw opportunity. From Earth, John and Lisa could feel the weight of distant debates they could not see. Still, the aliens shared more. They revealed that several fleets were positioned near human space, not as an attack but as observation. Panic rippled through the public when this information was released. Images of alien ships filled screens. Rumors spread fast. Some demanded weapons. Others demanded withdrawal. Once again, humanity stood at a crossroads. This time, the choice was visible to everyone. The council made a risky decision. Instead of hiding fear, they shared the truth. Broadcasts explained the situation in clear terms. There was danger, yes, but there was also trust forming. People like Kevin Miller spoke on public channels explaining technical limits and defenses. Amy White addressed crowds urging calm and patience. Daniel Ross coordinated logistics to keep communication systems stable. There were protests. There were angry voices, but there was no collapse into chaos. John noticed something small but important. Online arguments shifted tone. Instead of blaming nations, people argued about ideas. Unity did not erase conflict, but it changed its shape. Lisa focused on the next message. The aliens asked how humanity would respond if galactic law demanded division. What if the council required a single ruler? What if they demanded separation into zones? This question was harder. The answer could define humanity's place in the galaxy. After long debate, the response was sent. Humanity would not accept unity imposed from outside. It was chosen freely, or it meant nothing. If galactic law could not accept that, then humanity would remain distant but peaceful. It was a quiet refusal, not a threat. Silence followed. Hours stretched into days. Fear returned, sharper this time. Fleets remained in position. No weapons fired. No contact made. Then a private signal arrived, not from the full council, but from a smaller group within it. They admitted that galactic law had not changed in thousands of cycles. No species had ever challenged it this way. Humanity's stance forced a decision. John felt the weight of history pressing down. Lisa felt it too. They had hoped for understanding, not responsibility. The signal ended with a simple statement. The galaxy was watching, not to see what humanity would say next, but to see if it would remain united when tested. The test began without warning. There was no dramatic announcement from the stars, no threat spoken aloud. Instead, small pressures appeared across the human system, quiet and precise. Shipping lanes experienced delays caused by unknown interference. Satellites reported strange echoes that disrupted communication for seconds at a time. Nothing was damaged, but nothing was untouched. John Carter recognized the pattern immediately. It was not an attack. It was a probe. The Galactic Council was testing humanity's unity. Inside the control center, John worked with Kevin Miller to trace the disruptions. They found that the effects were spread evenly across regions. No single nation was targeted more than another. Lisa Brown noticed the same balance in the timing of the events. "They want to see who breaks first," she said. On Earth, tension rose again. Some governments accused others of weakness. Conspiracy theories flooded public networks. Old fears resurfaced, sharp and familiar. The council met daily now. Arguments were louder. Patience wore thin. Some leaders demanded permission to prepare weapons. Others wanted to cut communication entirely. Lisa reminded them that reaction was the point. If humanity fractured under stress, the declaration would be proven false. John presented data showing that cooperation reduced the impact of the disruptions. Shared resources stabilized systems faster than isolated responses. Unity was not just moral, it was efficient. Slowly, strategies shifted. Instead of each nation solving problems alone, task groups formed across borders. Engineers in one country worked with analysts in another. Medical teams shared supplies without delay. People like Laura King coordinated civilian communication, calming fear with facts. Eric Hall monitored public sentiment, flagging dangerous rumors before they spread too far. Megan Scott worked on emergency response plans that crossed old political lines. Still, cracks appeared. In one region, a powerful alliance announced it would act independently if conditions worsened. The statement sent shockwaves through the council. Markets trembled. Social media exploded with anger and fear. John felt a cold knot form in his chest. This was the moment the galaxy was waiting for. Lisa requested permission to address the public directly. It was risky. No expert had spoken without filters since first contact began. After tense debate, the council agreed. Lisa appeared on screens across the world. She did not wear a uniform. She spoke slowly, choosing simple words. She explained what the test likely was. She explained that fear was natural, but isolation would only confirm alien doubts. She did not ask for blind trust. She asked for shared responsibility. "Unity is not silence," she said. "It is staying at the table even when we disagree." The speech spread quickly. It did not stop all anger, but it softened it. Protests continued, but violence did not rise. John watched data streams stabilize over the next days. Cooperation increased again. The alliance withdrew its statement. Then the next phase came. A direct message from the Galactic Council arrived, addressed to humanity as a whole. It explained the test openly now. A divided species was considered dangerous. Unity reduced the chance of unpredictable war. However, the Council also warned that unity made humanity powerful. A united species could disrupt existing balances. Some members feared that more than chaos. The message ended with an offer. Humanity could be recognized as a unified entity under galactic law. This would grant protection, limited trade, and shared knowledge, but it came with conditions. Humanity would be required to enforce unity internally. No independent military actions beyond its system. No separate treaties by individual nations. One voice always. Silence filled the control center after the translation finished. This was not conquest. It was not peace. It was control wrapped in order. The council struggled with the decision. Acceptance would mean safety and progress, but at a cost. Refusal would mean isolation and possibly future conflict. John saw the danger clearly. Forced unity would rot from the inside. Lisa felt it too. Language imposed from above lost meaning, but fear was strong. Images of alien fleets still hovered in the public mind. Some argued that survival mattered more than ideals. For the first time since contact, the council considered voting along national lines again. That night, a private message arrived from the same smaller alien group as before. They warned that the offer was a compromise forced by fear. Many council members expected humanity to accept. "If you do," the message said, "unity becomes law, not choice." John and Lisa stayed awake through the night, drafting possibilities. They searched for a path that avoided collapse or submission. By morning, an idea formed. It was simple and dangerous. Humanity would answer with unity again, but redefine it. Instead of accepting imposed control, humanity would propose a new model. Unity of purpose, not command. Shared defense, not enforced silence. Open dialogue between species, not rigid hierarchy. Many thought it was naive. Some called it reckless, but others saw its strength. It did not reject the galaxy. It invited it to change. The message was prepared with care. It acknowledged the offer and the fear behind it. It refused the conditions without hostility. It offered partnership instead of submission. When the transmission was sent, John felt his hands shake. Lisa closed her eyes. This was the true test, not whether humanity could stand together under pressure, but whether it would choose unity even when it cost safety. Far beyond human space, the message arrived, and the galaxy began to argue. The galaxy did not answer quickly. Debate spread across systems older than Earth itself. Messages crossed distances that light once ruled alone. Some alien species feared humanity's proposal. Others felt something unfamiliar stir within their councils. On Earth, the waiting returned, heavier than before. Fleets still hovered at the edge of human space, silent reminders of risk. People watched the stars at night, wondering if unity had been a mistake or a miracle. John Carter returned home for the first time in weeks. The city felt different. Flags were fewer. Symbols of nations mattered less than symbols of people helping people. He saw neighbors sharing food, checking on the elderly, speaking about the future instead of old grudges. Lisa Brown noticed the same change. Schools invited scientists and historians to speak openly. Children asked questions about aliens without fear. They asked what kind of people humans wanted to be. The pressure tests stopped. Shipping lanes cleared. Satellite interference faded. It was not peace yet, but it was calm. Then the signal came. It was not one voice, but many. The Galactic Council spoke together, something they had never done before. Even before translation finished, Lisa understood the meaning. The structure itself was different, layered, shared, balanced. The Council acknowledged humanity's refusal of imposed unity. They admitted that their laws were shaped by ancient wars and long fear. Change had always come from conquest or collapse, never from choice. Humanity's declaration, repeated again and again, had forced reflection. Some council members still opposed change. They warned that unity without control could spread unrest. Others argued that humanity had already proven restraint. In the end, compromise was reached. Galactic law would be amended. First contact species would no longer be required to fragment into manageable divisions. Unity would be recognized as a valid form of stability, not a threat by default. In return, humanity agreed to transparency, shared observation, open channels of communication. Not obedience, but trust. John felt his breath catch as the translation ended. Lisa smiled, exhausted and relieved. On Earth, the announcement spread like sunrise. Celebrations erupted, not loud and wild, but steady and warm. There was pride, but also humility. Humanity had not won a war. It had changed a rule. Alien fleets withdrew slowly, not in retreat, but in respect. Observation stations remained, but their purpose shifted from watchfulness to exchange. Soon, the first shared data arrived. Star maps, medical knowledge, warnings about distant dangers humanity had never imagined. In return, humans shared their own lessons, stories of failure, recovery, and stubborn hope. John returned to his work, now part of a joint human-alien systems group. Kevin Miller helped adapt technology for shared use. Daniel Ross managed logistics for the first interstellar conference. Lisa led a growing team of translators. New languages arrived, each carrying unique ways of thinking. She taught patience more than words. Amy White and Laura King coordinated public outreach, making sure fear did not grow in the shadows. Eric Hall and Megan Scott monitored social stability, ready to respond if old divisions resurfaced. Humanity was not suddenly perfect. Arguments continued. Borders still existed, but something fundamental had shifted. When conflicts arose, people remembered the moment the stars were watching. Unity was no longer an abstract idea. It was a choice humanity had made when it mattered most. Years later, historians would debate the moment of first contact. Some would focus on technology, others on politics, but most would agree on one thing. Humanity's first words to aliens were not a greeting. They were not a warning. They were a declaration that a divided past did not have to define a shared future. And across the galaxy that choice echoed, not as a command, but as an invitation.